In this tutorial, we're going to go over PathCam's tracked path controller and how to set that up. So the first thing here is we have our level, and we just have a main camera in our level in our scene. So I'm going to come down to our prefabs and add the path controller tracked. And you can see that added this object with the main camera, the starting position, end position, and our look at points. So within the tracked path controller, we're going to start the camera off at one waypoint and go straight to another endpoint. And in the middle, we're going to look at different types of objects. So I'm going to start off by adding my main camera to my path controller. And we're going to have to add starting and ending positions. So I'm going to go down to my prefabs again and go to waypoint start. And we'll add that into the scene. Bring that up a little bit. And then I'm going to go to my waypoint end prefab and add that too. And we'll bring that out over here. Okay. I'm going to go back to my path controller and add those. Alright. And as soon as I did that, you see that there's a line that was drawn in the scene view between the start and the end point. And there's also this travel distance. Now this is going to be important for when we set up our look at objects, and I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, so let's come back to our prefabs and add a look at object tracked. You can see it shows up in yellow here in the scene. Okay, I'm going to rename that to LAO1. And I'm going to go over this script in a second. Let's just get our object set up. So I'm going to duplicate LAO1, bring it over here, call it LAO2. And we'll duplicate that one and put this object towards the end. Okay. Don't forget to rename that. Alright, so I'm going to come back to LAO1. Now you can see on LAO1 we have a start distance, an end distance, and a rotation speed. The start distance is going to be the camera distance. As this camera travels along this track from start position to end position, it's going to go down from this travel distance, so 23 to 0. So all the way out here it's going to be 23.81, and then as it travels it's going to get smaller until we hit the end point and the travel distance will be 0. So I want to look at this object between a start distance of 24 and an end distance of, let's say, 18. So as my camera moves from position 23 to 18, it's going to look at this object. I'm going to set this up on LAO2 to start at 18, and we'll go to 10. And the rotation speed again is just the camera's rotation speed to that object. So it can be faster or slower. I'm going to leave it at 0.5 for right now. And let's go back to LAO3, set that up from 10 to 0. Let's go back to our path controller, set up our look points. We have 3 of them. Add 1 and 2. And you can see 2 things happened. We have a cube now on our path, and this is going to be the point at which it switches from this look at object to this look at object. And we can also see that the transition match right here. Now what this does is it tells you if look point 1's ending distance matches LAO2's starting distance, because they have to match, because that's going to be the point at which you switch from this one to this one. Now you can see if I change this to 17, you can see in your path controller it doesn't match. So you have to go back and fix this and say this is going to be 18. Okay, I'm going to add LAO 3 and our transition matches. And you can see we have our little track here with our cubes. And we should be ready to go. So I'm going to maximize our game view a little bit and hit play and see what we got. Now you can see it went really, really fast, and we don't want that. We want it to be a little bit slower. So I'm going to go back to our waypoint end, and remember we still have all these that we can set up. Actually, when you're using a tracked controller, only the approach speed matters. So I'm going to set this to, let's do 0.15, and we'll replay that. And you can see it switches from point to point as it moves on that track. I'm going to play it again so you can see it in the scene view itself. So we can see our path controller, and as soon as it hits that block, it switches straight over to this other object. Now, the look at objects themselves don't always have to be these prefabs that I set up. They can be pillars or anything that you have in the game scene, as long as it has that script on it, the look at object script, with the start distance, end distance, and rotation speed. You can add different look at points anywhere along this track, and it'll always show up along your track that you have set up.